What's up, y'all? My name is JR, and for those of you who don't already know, I'm a huge movie and TV nerd. If you're new here, I appreciate you taking the time to check out my channel. I hope you consider sticking around and joining the film community I'm trying to build here on YouTube. So in today's video, I'm going to be giving my reaction and review of the Bruce Springsteen biopic, Springsteen, Deliver Me From Nowhere. And just so you guys know, this video will contain mild spoilers, so if for some reason you haven't gotten around to seeing this movie at the theaters yet, and you don't want to know anything that happens in it, you might want to exit this video now. And with that being said, no more wasting time, let's get into it. Springsteen, Deliver Me From Nowhere is an American-made biographical musical drama film starring Jeremy Allen White as Bruce Springsteen. Written and directed by Scott Cooper and based on the 2023 book Deliver Me From Nowhere by Warren Zanes, it chronicles Springsteen's personal and professional struggles during the conception of his 1982 album, Nebraska. The film also stars Jeremy Strong, Paul Walter Hauser, Stephen Graham, and Odessa Young. Springsteen, Deliver Me From Nowhere had its world premiere at the 52nd Telluride Film Festival on August 29th of 2025 and will be theatrically released in the United States by 20th Century Studios on October 24th. And so far, the film has received generally positive reviews from critics. At the time of the making of this video, the movie has a 61% on Rotten Tomatoes based on 145 critic reviews, with its popcorn meter currently sitting at 88% based on over 100 verified ratings. The film has a Metascore of 59 on Metacritic based on 47 critic reviews, with a user score of 5.9 based on just 10 user ratings. And finally, the movie has a 6.5 out of 10 on IMDb with almost 2,000 ratings. So, I'm going to go ahead and admit to you guys that going in to see this film, I had no real idea about the film's logline or its structural approach to telling what turned out to be a deeply earnest foray into the life of one of the biggest rock and roll icons of my lifetime. I never saw a trailer. I never read the film's logline, literally. All I knew was that it was a biopic about Bruce Springsteen, and that was all by design. I went into it that way so that I wouldn't have any preconceived notions about the film. That way, I wouldn't be approaching the film from a place where I might be disappointed because the film didn't go like I thought it should. Instead, I wanted to be surprised at the story I was being told so that I might offer an unbiased evaluation here on the channel, seeing as how I'm a music guy, I write songs, I produce, play several instruments, and I happen to be a fan of Bruce Springsteen, and I have been since I was a little boy. I remember when he was on We Are the World and that whole thing, and that's kind of how I came into it. You know, Born in the USA, I literally remember that song. And so I wanted to go into the theater being able to give the film a clean slate where it could just start from zero and just kind of go from there. And after seeing the film, I really liked that the film managed to avoid the whole cradle to the grave style plot structure because I think that those types of biopics can sometimes make the film feel plotless, right? With a more episodic feel than anything else. And this film, I think, maybe avoided that in large part because of the fact that Bruce Springsteen is still alive. But seeing as how the movie is based on the book of the same name, I think the filmmakers simply wanted to focus on the truncated time that Bruce spent dealing with depression as he tried to complete the Nebraska album, an album I actually know a little bit about, even though it was released when I was about 5 years old. And what I'll say about this is that I could tell pretty early on in the film that Bruce Springsteen was dealing with depression by just the way the film was set up and kind of how the character was behaving. I knew it was depression. And especially when they started flashing back to him growing up with his dad and kind of their rocky relationship being like a focus and an emphasis, it became pretty clear pretty quickly that that's what was happening. And I thought that they did a really good job of kind of making the audience understand that that's what was going on, Again, like I said, if you read the log line, or if you had read the book, or if you're just like a Springsteen aficionado and maybe you know a little bit more about him historically than the average person, you might have known that. But again, like I said, I went in with a clean slate, and so I was able to kind of determine that just based off what the film gave us, not so much because I knew Bruce Springsteen was depressed when he wrote the Nebraska album. Now, the film also uses a present-past style of storytelling to emphasize both Bruce's childhood experiences, mostly having to do with the rocky relationship he had with his father, and what inspired him to pen the songs he would later include on the Nebraska album. I thought that, the flashbacks being black and white, I actually liked that choice. I think stylistically it worked here, especially with the tone of the film. Because, sometimes people will kind of do the whole, well, we're going to do the flashbacks in black and white, and you kind of go, eh. But because the flashbacks take place, I believe it's in the 50s, I believe it is, off the top of my head, it's kind of one of those things where it felt like it worked. Like I said, especially because it kind of went right in with the tone of the overall film. Now, I think Jeremy Allen White did an absolutely amazing job playing Bruce Springsteen. I was kind of concerned because I was like, man, it would kind of be like somebody playing Prince in a biopic, or like Michael Jackson or Whitney Houston or somebody, just somebody truly iconic. And you kind of go, man, I hope, because he's going to be scrutinized for this one, right? But I thought he brought an earnestness to the role that made the character feel so human, in a way that most people don't get to see, or they decide not to see when they see an icon, right? It's so easy for us to look at, like a Michael Jordan, or, again, like I said, a Michael Jackson or somebody like that, and go, well, that person's not a human being. They're a star, right? But, I felt like Jeremy Allen White really did a good job at making Bruce Springsteen feel like every man. And that's what the film needed. And I also want to say this. I need you guys to understand, he's absolutely going to get an Oscar nomination for this movie. You might as well just go ahead and book that right now. I don't know how you feel about Jeremy Allen White. I don't know how you feel about the movie, but I'm telling you right now, come Oscar season, his name's going to be on the list. So just be prepared for that. Now, I thought the relationship between Bruce and Faye, played by Odessa Young, gave the lead character dimension and balance as the film kind of explored Bruce's failings as a lover and as a de facto father figure for Haley, Faye's daughter, with the ways in which he may have seen his own father's failings as a parent, right? People say this all the time, like, as a young boy growing up, you kind of take your cues from your father as to what it's supposed to mean or be to be a man. And so, Bruce tells Faye several times, hey, I don't want to hurt you. I don't think I can be what you're going to need me to be here. And I just don't think it's going to be a good situation. But of course, Faye, oh no, it's okay, and we can just be casual or whatever. But I mean, it's Bruce Springsteen, and I'm sure Faye is looking for a better life, and she sees Bruce as someone who can give her that, and he's famous. I mean, and so, that whole dynamic plays out in the film. And I thought it worked really well. I thought the two's chemistry was really, really good. And I liked, Bruce's musical determination, right? And his loyalty to his own artistic integrity. I thought it felt brave, even as he dealt with the fear of becoming something more to everyone. Of course, like as a musician, I've never had to look at it, at that level. But I could kind of place myself in the mindset of a Bruce Springsteen going, well, what if I fail? What if I let the people down close to me? What if I, in a situation like that, you got an artist that goes, if I fail, there's a whole bunch of people who aren't going to eat, and so, there's that aspect of it that kind of really shined through throughout the course of the film. I thought the small writing was absolutely fantastic. And in fact, there were several lines of dialogue that felt just as poignant as the lyrics to Springsteen's songs. And speaking of Springsteen's songs, of course, the music provided the perfect soundtrack for the journey that this film takes us on, with a few moments that feel both nostalgic and iconically inspiring all at once. I think one of my favorite scenes in the movie was the scene where they're recording Born in the USA in the studio. And I'll just tell you guys, a smile kind of came over my face because you start thinking about what you were doing the first time you heard that song on the radio. And I thought Jeremy, Allen White did a really good job of kind of singing. Now, I'm not saying that this was his voice that we were hearing, but, when you're an actor and you kind of got to lip sync to music and stuff like that, you've got to bring forth all the emotion as well as kind of match the timing and the cadence of what's being sung. And, with Jeremy Allen White having to do that and mime playing the guitar, I thought he did a really good job of all of that. I felt like the film's pacing was fairly decent, with the film only being a 2-hour watch, because, when you hear biopics, sometimes you can get up to 3 hours and you go, oh, my God. But I thought the film was paced decently at only 2 hours. And the elements of the story, I felt, came together perfectly to create a film that you don't just watch, right? But that you can almost feel throughout. It just, even the end of the film, after Bruce gets back on stage finally and he's touring and he's in L.A., and his mom is there and his dad is there, and he kind of sits on his dad's lap in the dressing room, and he's kind of like, Dad, I'm a 33-year-old man, like what the hell are we doing here, But the fact that he was able to like humor his dad and just as a grown man just sit on his dad's lap like he was asked to, and for his dad to finally just look at him in the eye and say, hey, I know I wasn't the greatest father, and for Bruce to say, but that's all done now. Like, don't even worry about it. You know what I mean? And then for his dad to finally be like, I'm proud of you. I mean, I ain't gonna front, man. If you don't feel that, then I don't know. I mean, as a man, if you don't feel that, I don't know what to say. Now, overall, I'd give this film an 80% or an 8.0 if you're thinking IMDb score. Essentially a B for a letter grade. Now, I always tell people that biopics are a bit of a different animal in that structurally they feel different than fictional work. And topically, they're much more niche than your run-of-the-mill dramatic work, right? My point is that you should only go and see them if you have legitimate interest in the subject of the film. In this case, Springsteen is a boomer, whose musical era happened to overlap into and heavily influence the musical era of Gen X, which is my generation. And, as a result, I remember a lot of the music that Springsteen made, especially in his 30s. My point is that this film is probably more for the older set because outside of true music lovers and music historians, those are going to be the people who care enough about Springsteen to truly appreciate the absolute work of art that this movie was. But what do you guys think? Have you had a chance to go see Springsteen Deliver Me From Nowhere yet? If you have, are you a fan of Springsteen's music? How did you like the truncated present-past structure of the film? How do you think Jeremy Allen White did in playing the icon? Let me know in the comments. And for those of you that might be new to the channel, be sure to like and share this video. If you really like the content, be sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell. That way you'll be notified whenever I drop a new video. You can also now support the channel by leaving a super thanks. If you should be so inclined, I'd greatly appreciate it. Also, feel free to go and subscribe to my new shorts channel and my reactions channel for additional content. The links are in the description. In addition to that, be sure to go and check out themadscreenwriter.com for more television and film reviews and info on my upcoming film projects. And with that, I'm going to go ahead and get out of here. I got screenplays to write. And I'll catch y'all on the next video.